Hey Alex, so for this week I'm going to be reviewing The Bermudez Triangle by Maureen Johnson. The Bermudez Triangle is the story of three best friends, Nina, Avery, and Melanie, in their senior year of high school. The summer before their year begins, they're separated for 10 weeks as Nina goes off to some program at Stanford. This turns out to be an exciting 10 weeks for Nina, who in addition to learning tons about her future and working her ass off so that she can be better prepared to get into Stanford, meets the guy of her dreams, this hippie, environmentalist, activist guy named Steve. And she's not the only one finding some sort of exciting romance. It turns out that Mel and Avery have both found someone to date too, except that they're dating each other. So now the group dynamic has totally changed. In addition to freaking out about university and trying to deal with her long-distance boyfriend, Nina now has to worry about her two best friends hooking up with each other. And meanwhile, Avery is dealing with the whole, oh my god, am I gay? Am I bi? What is this? And Mel is there. The rest of the book is mostly their attempts to deal with the problem caused by Mel and Avery's relationship, both to their group of friends and, of course, the ones inherent with being in a lesbian relationship in high school, which is not the most forgiving place. So for the most part, I did like this book. I mean, I know the summary kind of sounds like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants minus pants plus gay, but it doesn't really come across that way. It seems a bit more real. Let's just deal with the elephant in the room. This is a young adult book about lesbians, and you gotta admit, that's pretty cool. I mean, we like to think that we live in fairly progressive times, but the fact of the matter is, even though Mel and Avery's relationship is fairly typical of romances in young adult books, the fact that they both have lady parts is enough to get this book banned in some places. And what's great about this book is that it doesn't use the whole lesbian thing as a gimmick. Mel and Avery go through the usual sexuality questioning stuff and dealing with homophobia, but ultimately the fights that they have with each other are because of who they are as people. They're regular relationship fights, which is how it should be and how it's far too rarely portrayed. And if we give more young adults books like these, then I'm all for it. Okay, problems with the book. First of all, the book is kind of based around three main characters, and yet only two of them get any real development. Nina and Avery are both multidimensional characters. Nina is worried about Steve and Stanford and is overworking herself and interacts with people in a believable way, and Avery does much of the same thing with her keyboards and joining a band, and they both basically have lives outside of the scope of the main plot. My problem is with Mel. Her sections of the books are almost entirely concerned with her coming out, and it's not that that's not an important part of your life, I get that, but it's just that it seems like it's the only part of her life. The only things that she's worried about are her relationship with Avery, what she's going to do if she comes up to her dad, and how she's dealing with the occasional physical attacks that she gets for being gay. Yes, your sexuality is an important part of who you are, especially when you're a teenager and you're just discovering it, but it's definitely not the only part of who you are. And yet when I'm thinking back on the book, I can't name a single character trait of Mel, aside from she's really nice and is gay. Also, she's kind of needy. Needy characters annoy me, so that might be a bit personal. And for about the last third of the book, after a spoiler alert, Avery cheats on Mel and they break up, the book is almost entirely your standard teen discovers their gay story, and it loses a lot of the charm and originality that it had in the first half. And aside from Nina, Avery, and Mel, all the characters in this book are pretty much two-dimensional caricatures. That's kind of understandable considering the book is based around their friendship and the other characters exist only to facilitate this, but that brings me to problem two. We're never really told why these girls are friends. When they're introduced to us, it's the beginning of the summer, they're seeing each other for the last time, and we definitely get a sense of camaraderie in that they have a long-standing friendship and they've got secret handshakes with their triangle power thing or whatever. But we never are really told why they are such good friends. I kind of assumed that they had been friends since they were really little kids, and some of the text does back me up on this, but it's never really told explicitly. It's just mentions that they're really good friends and they need each other and they do everything together. And almost immediately after this introduction, the conflict shows up, which means they're not getting along anymore, and we never really get to see them at their maximum friendship peak. Which means at the end of the book, when the great show of friendship is called for, it comes a little out of nowhere and isn't entirely believable. I mean, let's face it, Avery did some pretty douchey things. I'm not even talking about the cheating, but breaking up with your serious girlfriend / longtime best friend via your other friend over the phone, that is just not a nice move. And yeah, sure, she stands up to Mel's mother, but she just happened to be in the room at the time. This isn't so much a show of their friendship as it is a show that Avery's not entirely a horrible person. This last problem's not really a big one, but it is something that bothers me personally. Despite the book's focus on friendship, by the end of the novel, all the main characters are in romantic relationships. Nina's back together with Steve, and Mel gets some lesbian from this random dance that she goes to. And I think Avery is still with the guy that she's been making out with casually for a while. And it's just kind of frustrating how even in a book like this, where friendship is portrayed as the greatest support system you can have in life, the romantic relationship is still the be-all and end-all of existence. And here it comes. So predictable. Alex? Yeah, of course. Look at the short hair. What are you doing here? This is my video. I thought that imitations of other people was your shtick. Looks like you can't think of anything else to say, so you're just stealing my ideas. What's predictable? You're so cynical. You just can't stand anything vaguely related to romance, can you? It's not that I'm cynical. I'm fine with a good romantic story. It's just that it's seen as a requirement for every piece of fiction that exists, and it doesn't do credit to every other type of relationship that people can have. Like, who are they to imply that friendship or the relationship between siblings or mother and son or anything like that is not as important as the relationship between lovers? It's insulting. It's an insult to the rich and chaotic variety of human experience. Wow, that was pretentious. I was quoting Terry Pratchett. Okay, so that was pretentious and nerdy. Yeah, fine, whatever, go away. The Bermudez Triangle definitely isn't as bad as a lot of books in this regard. In fact, there's a brilliant moment near the end when Nina tells Parker, who she kind of had a thing with, that she just wants to be friends. He gives her the usual exasperated look that you give when someone gives you that cliche and basically says, don't give me that bullcrap. And she just shuts him down and says, no, I'm not blowing you off. We are friends, and that does mean something. But despite my nitpicking, this is a very good book. I'll give it 4 spontaneous renditions of Piano Man out of 5. Alex, I'll see you next week when you review the story of Edgar Sawtelle, or as you call it, that really heavy book with all the dogs. See ya. Hey Dom, how come that closet's closed in your background but open in shots of me? Movie magic. By which you mean sloppy editing? No, there's totally a reason for it. It's